What if I told you that part of you wants to suffer, that buried deep beneath your goals, your desire for happiness, even your pursuit of healing, there's a darker truth, one that whispers, pain feels familiar, pain feels like home. We like to believe that we're constantly moving toward pleasure, progress, fulfillment, but reality doesn't align so neatly, because if that were true, if we were really wired to chase happiness, then why do we so often return to what hurts us? Why do we stay in toxic relationships? Why do we procrastinate until we fail, self-sabotage when things go well, numb ourselves with addictions, or internalize criticism as if it's the only thing that feels real? The answer lies in a quiet psychological phenomenon, one we rarely name, but one that controls us more than we realize: self-destruction, not in the dramatic movie scene way, but in the subtle daily choices. The slow bleeding, the quiet craving for pain we pretend we don't feel. This is the hidden psychology of self-destruction, and it starts, like most things, in the past. Childhood experiences shape more than just memories. They mold our nervous system. If you grew up in chaos, neglect, or unpredictability, your body learned to equate stress with safety, love with pain, attention with fear. You adapted, you survived, but you also formed a blueprint, a kind of emotional muscle memory, one that now seeks out familiar patterns, even if they're destructive. That's why someone who grew up being criticized may now seek out partners who put them down. Why a high achiever secretly self-sabotages the moment they start succeeding. Why we replay old wounds over and over as if repetition will somehow rewrite the past. Freud called it the repetition compulsion, the drive to repeat old trauma in hopes of mastering it. But more often than not, we don't master it. We get consumed by it. Carl Jung took it a step further. He said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Pain becomes a compass, a broken one, but it points to what feels known. And what's known often feels safer than the terrifying uncertainty of change. That's the cruel paradox. Comfort isn't always good for you. Familiarity isn't always healing, and healing doesn't always feel like home. Modern psychology confirms this. Studies on attachment theory show that people with insecure attachments formed in childhood tend to recreate those dynamics in adulthood, not because they enjoy suffering, but because it's what they know. It's what they expect, and the brain likes predictability more than it likes happiness. Think of the brain like a thermostat. It regulates your emotional temperature. If you grew up in emotional coldness, your baseline is low. The moment things get too warm, too loving, too peaceful, you subconsciously sabotage to reset to what feels right. This is why healing feels wrong at first, why calm feels boring, why kindness can trigger suspicion, because you're not just fighting to change your behavior. You're fighting decades of nervous system conditioning. Now let's go deeper. Nietzsche once said, to live is to suffer, to survive is to find some meaning in the suffering. There's something strangely addictive about pain when it becomes a proxy for purpose. We turn suffering into identity, the victim, the struggler, the misunderstood one. It gives us story, narrative, a place in the world. And in a society that often rewards resilience over rest, trauma becomes a badge of honor, but that badge can become a cage. The poet Rainer Maria Rilke wrote, "The purpose of life is to be defeated by greater and greater things." That quote, romantic as it sounds, echoes how we sometimes seek deeper pain as proof of deeper existence. Think about it. Have you ever sabotaged something good in your life, not because you didn't want it, but because you didn't feel like you deserved it? That's not logic, that's shame, and shame is one of the most powerful, destructive forces in the human psyche. It says, You are broken, you are unworthy, and anything good that comes your way must be a mistake. So you push it away, or destroy it before it leaves you, because at least then you're in control of the loss. Here's the irony. Self-destruction can feel like safety, like control, like protection from greater pain. But all it really does is postpone healing. Let's talk real world for a second. Consider the addict who relapses on the day they get a job offer, or the student who skips the final after weeks of preparation. Or the person who ghosts someone just as the relationship starts getting serious. None of it makes sense on the surface, but underneath there's fear, fear of success, fear of being seen, fear of losing something you never thought you deserved to have. The pattern is clear. The better life gets, the more the inner saboteur rises. But what if I told you the saboteur isn't evil, it's just scared? Self-destruction is often a misguided attempt at self-preservation. You're not trying to ruin your life. You're trying to protect yourself from disappointment, from abandonment, from the crushing weight of hope. And if you've spent your life bracing for impact, hope can feel like a threat. So where does that leave us? With awareness, because awareness is the beginning of choice, of power, of change. We don't heal by hating the parts of us that hurt. We heal by listening to them, understanding them, giving them new roles to play. Your pain is not a flaw, it's a map, a record of where you've been, but it doesn't have to dictate where you're going. The moment you recognize your patterns, not with judgment but with curiosity, you start to rewrite them. It won't be clean or quick or linear. Healing rarely is. But with every moment of awareness, every pause before the impulse, every time you choose differently, you reclaim a piece of yourself. And maybe, just maybe, you realize that you don't have to crave pain to feel alive. Because you're allowed to feel joy. You're allowed to feel safe. You're allowed to let go of the suffering you thought was part of your identity. Let me leave you with this. What if your healing scares you more than your pain? What if you're not afraid of falling apart, but of what it might mean to finally be whole? Sit with that. And if this message stirred something in you, if it echoed a truth you've been avoiding, then I invite you to reflect in the comments. Share your thoughts, start a conversation, and if you found value in this video, consider liking, subscribing, and joining us on this journey of introspection and transformation. There's more to explore together.